the agenda for tonight, October 21st, 24.
Move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We're good. And can I also get a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting that was on October 7th?
Motion to approve the minutes from October 7th.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're good there as well. All right, school committee chairperson comments. I don't have any comment in particular tonight. For folks who are online, thanks for your patience. We have a couple of technical glitches to get through, but we should be good to go now. With that, we can move to community comments. I don't think we've got anybody from the community in the room tonight, other than one. Sam, let me know if you've got any hands raised for community comments online.
See. Right now, I see no hands raised.
Okay. All right. Well, we will go ahead. We're going to hang tight on student comments. And we've got a team of volleyball team members joining us here shortly, coming up from an event. So why don't we go ahead and jump into superintendent and administrator reports.
Okay, thank you. Do you mind pulling that up on the screen, the district update, Sam?
Okay, let's see.
Thank you. Thank you. I just have a couple brief updates tonight. First, we had our first Spanish immersion advisory board meeting this past week. Just as a reminder, we have about 4 or 5 advisory board meetings over the course of the year. The first one is more of an organizational meeting. We actually have all the meetings in here, and it's open to anyone who wants to come, but it's a mixture typically of teachers, administrators, and also many amazing parents and community members that give a lot of time and effort into working on the program. When we met, we always start with an introduction of some of our new teachers that we have to the program. And we also this year have 2 Spanish immersion assistants, which have been a great help. They're working in Memorial, but also working in Clough and Misco this year, which has been a big help. We are working on professional learning. You'll hear about this later on in the year and curriculum, but we have collaborated with Dr. Tara Fortune, and she is an expert in this area, and she wrote a book. It began where she wrote a book. We found the book. Megan Pike, our amazing coordinator, reached out to her, said, hey, do you do PD? And we connected with her and also with Cheryl as well over the course of the summer to see if there's something where she could support our programming and support our curriculum development. And she was able to come out and work with us on some of the PD days that we just had not too long ago. And she's doing some follow-up work with our teachers as well. So we're really fortunate to be able to make that. Where is she from?
She lives really far away.
I'm gonna say Midwest.
Midwest.
Minnesota, I think, right? Is that what it says? Minnesota? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. And so we're really lucky. Also, we had a successful student exchange, Spanish exchange. I know a year ago we had, it kind of worked out with the timing of our meeting, and we had the students come and present on their experience, but we've heard a lot of positive feedback. We're also working on some tutoring for SI students from one of our teachers. And we just were requested to be a site school, a visit school for the Multi-State Association for Bilingual Education Conference that will be coming up in February. And we just let them know that we'd be willing to be a location for the site visit. So if any big items come up over the course of the year after some of our future advisory meetings, I'll be sure to pass it along. But it's a great group of parents that really help us out and do a lot of work side by side with our administrators. So I just wanted to make sure I highlighted that work that happened this last week. Any questions on that?
Is there anything that came from Tara Fortune's presentation that said, oh, that's something we need to implement into our school that we weren't doing before? Or like, is there any I guess, was there any tangible takeaways?
Do you want to speak to that?
Sure.
Yeah, because Cheryl's worked with the teachers directly. on
Yeah,
the
I
work.
mean, the work is planned for the whole year, so the tangible take, like the big takeaways will be like delivered by the end of the year. So they'll be working on it throughout. Their focus is on developing grade level progressions for Spanish immersion, which you can imagine, like the state has done a wonderful job for English language. And for Spanish language, when you're just starting, that's not something that's provided. So we're developing it in consult with her. She's also working with the teachers specifically on the best practices for instruction and, you know, effectively working with them in terms of like encouraging full immersion, like not breaking out into English and things like that. So they'll do what we've done is we've incorporated it into our curriculum review cycle. And as a result, they will present at the end of the year on all the things that they've accomplished, basically, and the promotions. So,
What was nice for her to actually come out here is to be able to observe the program too. So then when she's working with the teachers virtually later on, that she had the ability to kind of learn what our structure is as well.
For the site visit thing.
Yep.
Is that, so the people who are gonna be coming observing, are they other Spanish immersion programs, or are they people who are looking to start a Spanish immersion program? What exactly is the context?
It could be this, I think this conference happens every year, and with it, it's all like types of multilingual, bilingual programs, different immersion programs. It's kind of all of it. And so I know we've been members in the past and have sent some of our administrators have gone in the past and teachers have gone in the past to the conference. And so it's kind of like if we go to a conference somewhere in another location and then they offer like the site visits around, that's what it is, because the conference is happening not too far away, I guess, and they asked if we could be one. But it would be more than just Spanish immersion, because there are other immersion type of programs or bilingual programs. When it gets closer and when they set it up, I'll have more information. I added it in because they reached out this week. I'm like, oh, that's another really, that's something to highlight, that because we haven't been asked to be a site visit spot before. I'm familiar with. All right. Anything else? All right. Professional development highlights. We just had our last professional development day on last Friday, October 11th. This was the first PD day in the year where we had school-based teams. So as you know, we have a number of PD days throughout the course of the whole year. We have a few that are full days. We have many. We kind of spread them out across the months for a half day. And a lot of those half days are focused on, because it's hard to bring the whole district together with different times. They're focused on different school-based topics. Our elementary educators participated in a workshop by the Well Collaborative focused on teaching writing. And we're actually part of a 3-year partnership with Well, and they're doing some kind of research work and working on some strategies with our teachers as part of that work over the 3 years. And we just started with them. I'm sure we'll be reporting out later on after we've done more work with them. Our middle school educators work together to identify resources and develop ideas for teaching the school's behavior and culture expectations of respect, responsibility, and safety. And then they worked in department teams on their student data as well as their stage 1 curriculum maps as well. Cheryl did a great job of leading them through many of the workshops over at the middle school on the PD day. And then finally, and I was able to sit in on a good portion of this one as well, the high school educators work together on how to provide feedback. They're splitting up the 10th grade students. They talked about this in their school improvement plan presentation. And so with the faculty, one of the spots for them to train is that they kind of rolled out how the timeline for how they'll be supporting, working with a couple students and working in the mastery learning record. And that was a lot of the work that they did around mastery learning. It was great. In addition to those main areas, we also provided from Boston Children's Hospital, and this was sponsored by our participation, BBCC. The nurses participated in the webinar, and our counselors worked on resources for supporting SEL development and they're still trying to identify a new formative SEL screener that the elementary schools might be able to pilot in January. We use Panorama, as you know, but at the younger grades, it's not quite the fit, and we're trying to see if there's some other options in piloting some this year. So it was a really successful half day of PD. I know it's a lot for parents and families to have to coordinate, especially we had a lot up front at the beginning of the school year. The advantage this year of having PD up front is you then can launch into a lot of the work. And then later on in the year, it's kind of spread out a little bit more. So I know we had a little bit more upfront than we've had in the past, but I do think that it's been working out well. And our next one will be on election day. And that's the educator directed day where they work on the individual projects that they want to work. Questions on PD?
I think it makes sense to have it earlier in the year because you get the benefit out of it.
Yeah.
Have you collected feedback from the teachers? I kind of remember that was a
Yeah.
contention negotiation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, of the timing. Or,
Just how much.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've asked that specific question. We do get feedback
About the
after
early
each.
one in August
Yeah.
and in September. Most of them liked this. Yeah, we did ask about the
Okay.
September one and most of them liked it. There were some that were like, yeah, this is a bit much for the beginning of the year, but by and large, the feedback was positive.
Thank you. And in the future, after we will have summaries from Cheryl as well on, larger aspects, but wanted to give a highlight tonight since we just had it recently. Upcoming events, I always like to share what some of the events are. I always have this in my district update. And when I started to go through all of the newsletters and everything that's going on, we have a lot going on. And someone even said to me today, they said, it's a really, really busy time of year. I don't know if I can go to everything. But I think it's important to highlight all the events that are happening. We had a college financial aid night this past Thursday at Nipmuc. If you haven't ever been to one of those, or even if you don't have a junior or senior, it's definitely worthwhile to go to. We just had the Misco Halloween social for grades 5 and 6. That's sponsored by the PTO. That was last Friday. We had a lot of hosting of learning walks. That was today, where we have lots of teachers coming in from Milford, Ashland in our collaborative mentoring program that Cheryl helps lead with the other assistant superintendents. We have Clough KCR Spirit Week this week. So you'll see lots of dressing up. They're dressing up as superheroes today and kindness and a lot of focus. It's in one of her memos. The SATs coming up. We have 2 different trunk or treats. We have the one taking place at Memorial on the 24th and one happening in Mendon. That's a community-based one on the 26th.
I think one of the ones, it's not at
I think it's at.
It's at Nipmuc.
Memorial PTO.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the
Yeah.
Memorial one, but the location is here. Yes, thank you. Nipmuc Mastery Transcript Consortium Virtual College Fair. This is something new, and I just want to bring in some of the resources that we have by being part of the Mastery Transcript Consortium. Students will be able to go online and be able to, sign up for any of the colleges, and they're all across, the US and some international schools as well, and to find out more information with that. So that's something new this year. The Misco Hill Drama Performance Game of Tiaras is happening this weekend. I walked by them about 10 times today as they were setting up after school today and doing final preparations for that. We have, of course, I keep mentioning it because I want you all to join me in it, the Muse Spooky Run taking place on the 27th. We have the Memorial and Clough Cardboard Creation Day happening all day on the 31st. We have Misco Halloween on November 1st, and the Nipmuc Drama Guild has a Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So another kind of Halloween themed event taking place for their drama performance happening. And I almost kept going, but I stopped at November 1st and 2nd and take up the next events that are happening. And I'm sure I missed a few in there, but just pulling quickly from the newsletters that were taking place.
Any questions?
Right.
Well, our team of volleyball players, since you guys were a little late, which is the end of the agenda, should be good around 9 o'clock. No, why don't you guys come on up? Yeah.
It's be a former school.
That's great. That was good. But I had to say, Dr. Cohen forgot one other thing. So this Friday, these are some of the, I'll let them talk, but this Friday, the last block of the day, where the student faculty volleyball game, this is a rematch. We put a beat down on the teachers last year, so they have an opportunity for redemption. So they're gonna play these guys. But it's really a summation of what these guys have done for the month. So beginning of the month, we were talking about their pink day. So when we were sitting around just having a conversation before practice, so tell me, what's pink day? What is it to you? And they, like I said, I'm not gonna go into the conversation, but they were coming up with things. And one of the things that came up was, okay, do you want to do something about, breast cancer awareness? Because that's what pink day is all about. So they started in the beginning of the month, and they've done a wonderful job of some of the things that they set out for. So the beginning of the month, they did a few fundraisers, concession stands with baked goods and selling goods. And then in the middle of the month, we ordered breast cancer awareness bracelets, and the student body was able to buy them if they wanted to, and that was an incredible success. And then we came up with an idea of like a marathon. And back in the day when there was a walk for hunger, somebody would sponsor you a certain mile. So they did a buck a bump test. So they would get sponsors, and they're collecting the money this week. And at the end of the week, the summation, as I said, is going to be a student faculty game. We also have a person by the name of Liz Fleming coming in from Milford Hospital. And we're going to give her a contribution of what kids raise for breast cancer awareness at Milford Hospital. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We'll tell you at another time, but they've knocked it out of the ballpark. One thing that I also asked them to do, I said, I'd like to have you guys write a reflection on, what this was to you. And that's what I want to turn over to them. On the way up here, they were giggling, this, that, and the other thing, but then they said, I'm starting to get really nervous. Well, good. This is good for you. So girls, one at a time, this is their reflections. We had 20 girls do it. It was, like I said, it was a phenomenal program and a great process to be a part of, watching them kind of take the lead on everything. But they're going to tell you a little bit what they got out of it. So I'm going to step out.
So.
What's your name?
Oh, sorry. My name's Carissa Fountain and I'm in 8th grade. So basically every player would get 3 to 6 sponsors, and every touch you would have on the ball. So you could either bump it or you could set it. Every touch is $1. So me personally, I got 40 touches. So and I had 4 sponsors. So 40 times 4 is 160. So I raised $160 myself. And I think, how much did we raise? Like,
Oh, that's a secret.
oh, sorry. Surprise, Carissa. I'm sorry. So yeah.
You want to read your reflection?
Oh, I said that this fundraiser made my whole team and I feel really good about what we did. And hopefully it can change, help with someone's family who has breast cancer or help with them. And it made us work harder because someone deserves that money.
I'm Brenna Robinson, and I wrote about how breast cancer, people think August, oh my God, people think October is about pink and wearing pink, but it's actually about breast cancer and how you need to celebrate and help the people that actually have it, and raising money and getting a lot of people to support and understand what it actually means instead of wearing pink.
I'm Leah Polly and I'm in 8th grade. And because of the fundraisers that the Misco Hill volleyball team put on, I've learned a lot about breast cancer and why knowing about it is important. I never knew how many people it affected and how common it was until now. And you might not be able to raise enough money to cover someone's medical bills, but it could be enough for food or gas that family members can use to visit loved ones or to help research a cure for breast cancer. So hopefully one day people won't have to experience this. I'm very glad that I got to participate in raising money and spreading awareness about breast cancer and try to help people with my fellow teammates.
I'm Annabelle Pinto and I'm in 7th grade. The volleyball team did a Buckabout Marathon to support people with breast cancer. We raised almost more than $4,000 to support the Milford Hospital Breast Cancer Foundation. It's going to support the research to help find a cure for breast cancer and help breast cancer survivors and families. Some of my close friends' moms had breast cancer and I'm glad they survived it. I want to help this cause for my friends' families and other families that might be affected by this terrible disease in our community.
I'm Bryce Kenny. I'm in 8th grade, and a question that the Minster Hill volleyball team constantly gets asked by Coach McGinnis is, why are you doing the breast cancer fundraisers? And to us, the fundraisers aren't just about wearing pink. We organize fundraisers to help this cause because we believe in making a change. And for me, a few years back when I was in elementary school, my mom's best friend actually fought breast cancer. And it really becomes real to you when you watch your mom's best friend have to go through that and watch her best friend go through that. So for many people, it's like any form of cancer awareness is just to help others remember what some people go through. But for us, however, cancer awareness events and fundraisers are to remind people how we can help this cause. And we do what we do so that we can help donate to the research centers who are actively working on finding a cure, and to remind others of the battle some people face. But most of all, we do what we do to honor those who have survived the battle and those who couldn't fight any longer. So the breast cancer is still one of the top cancers leading women to death, and many people have to face the hard news or watch their family members fight. So I think that breast cancer awareness is not about wearing pink or ribbons. It's about fighting for what's right and doing our part in helping the cause. So we thank those who have shown their support and donated, and we honor our fighters.
We would like to invite you guys to 2 o'clock Friday at NISCO to watch the game and see the presentation for the Milford Hospital.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. Great job.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think
It's
they
Friday.
had,
It's Friday. No, it's Friday.
I think they had a match today.
Yeah, I thought
Or
that was
maybe
just
they had
maybe
practice.
there's-
Great.
Thanks.
Learning and innovation,
We got it.
All right.
Technology.
technology. Come on up, guys.
I'll try. It did fall application. Oh, hi there. Over here. You can put a picture of me. I did that. I stole it from the internet. Don't take pictures of the internet. I don't know. Put a picture of Sam for all we know. So hi there. It's been a while since we saw you. We've changed some people around. There's somebody new in the other seat. I just want to give you guys an update on where we are with stuff that we talked about in the spring. We did a lot of stuff over the summer. So just a little update from operations side. We didn't do much with the iPads as far as replacing iPads this summer. We did a lot of moving around. The seniors retired, move on, they returned their devices. We had some that left district to go to other schools. We reclaimed those devices and used it to cover new students coming in, as well as our K group and pre-K devices. We did an internet upgrade here at Nipmuc. We were at the end of our contract. We rebid the whole thing out. We had to do it for E-rate terms. The new pipe we put in here is a 10 gig circuit, which was 10 times faster than the 1 gig circuit that was in here before. So we were excited that we were running a lot faster. It also serves 2 elementary schools, so it gives plenty of bandwidth for all of our new devices for the next 3 years of the contract. Our MacBooks, all the teacher MacBooks were replaced before we left for the summer. We worked out a deal with Apple so we could get them before the teachers left for the summer so that they could use their devices over the summer, get familiar with them, get comfortable with their new devices. It also gave us a chance to work out any kinks before school started, which was very nice. It worked out well. We did 400 MacBooks total to teachers and paras. The old Macs that we brought back in, they were on an Apple lease, so we were able to remarket those. There's an estimate of probably about $40,000 we'll get back on that, which will go back into the iPad account that we use to kind of offset other costs that come up with those devices that aren't covered by Apple Care or otherwise. Finally, just a little update on the network infrastructure. We replaced all of the switches that run all of the wired devices. So that includes the wireless access points. So it's kind of the lifeblood of the back end. Those devices were at the end of their leased life. So we actually replaced those, and I imagine we'll probably get a little bit of remarket on those as well.
Just out of curiosity real quick, the new MacBooks, are they on a 4-year lease?
Yes.
But it must be a lease where we own them at the end, that title?
They technically are. We usually have a built-in of some kind of residual on it that we can either exercise or trying to remember what we did on this one. I think this one we did a buyout. Yeah.
So you must have done a buyout to then resell them.
Yeah, then we sell them now. It's what we get the money back.
So hi again, my name's Ryan Robidoux. I've been here in July. So this summer I was really focused on looking at simplifying access for students and educators for instructional technology. So there's a little bit of a redistribution on Clever to make the apps and stuff for kids and teachers a little easier to get to. We've also been working with Cheryl on open architects to make more access for the data dashboards that we have for teachers, making sure that can support our data cycles that we're working on this year. Cybersecurity has been another focus this summer. We're talking with Joe and Maureen about our cybersecurity incident response plan. We're rolling out some PD in the next couple of weeks for our staff, getting ready for our multi-factor authentication rollout that's going to come out shortly. And then I've also been talking a lot with teachers about AI for good. So I've done a couple of PDs about how we can use artificial intelligence and tools to support teachers, but also support students for differentiation and deeper learning. And since I just started, really just trying to work with people, collaborating, getting, onto the team. I've been working with the Innovation Career Pathways folks. The last 2 PDs I've worked with the K-8 DLCS, so digital literacy and computer science teachers to see, where they need support, where we need help to move forward. Principals, educators, just kind of getting up to speed and where I could help support. Couple grant updates from me. Community Compact IT grant. You're seeing some of that equipment come to fruition. Seeing the new microphones, new cameras. This was all paid for out of a grant from the state. Town Hall is also getting a similar upgrade as part of the same program. E-rate category 1. This is just I mentioned before we did the internet upgrade here. We get a federal entitlement program that pays us 40% on our internet bills, which is very, very helpful. It cuts down those costs on some of these high bandwidth connections that we have. I will be starting the 26 filing in November. That's the beginning of the cycle again, and we get approvals usually in late March, early April about where we're going to be with it. And then for this fiscal year, for 25, we're doing 2 cybersecurity grants. Ryan mentioned the first one. That's going to be our staff kind of email phishing and just general cybersecurity training. And I'm working on a separate one for 2-factor authentication deployment. We're looking to push out Duo to all the staff so that they'll be having 2-factor options now when they log into their email and other applications. A couple of things here, just areas that we're still working on. Sam's
everywhere, every day. So we added a lot of equipment over COVID and we didn't add any more staff to the team. So everybody's a little taxed. Our repair time shows it. It's just we're, running several days on a repair now where we used to try to button things up pretty quickly. So I think it's something when going forward, we're going to need to address. I've been working with Maureen and with Jay and with Ryan and everybody pretty much just trying to figure out ways we can be more efficient. But I think it's going to probably turn into some more staff in the near future.
Yeah, and I think along the same lines of like accumulating more things over and since COVID, like the digital resource inventory, like we have a lot of tech tools and educational ed tech tools that, I feel like every day I'm finding new tools that people are using in districts. So trying to get a handle on, what do we have, what can be used for, and how to put it in a place that everyone can see what's available, right? So if you're a middle school teacher, these are the things that you have access to, and this is what you can use it for. I think that's definitely a point of growth. Because we have a lot, and everyone does. That was at MassQ last week, and they mentioned it was in 2019, there was 800-ish ed tech tools that were really being used by districts. And then the following year, the year of COVID, it was 2,200 that were being used. So it's been a huge increase. So just trying to vet out like what's going to be best for students and for what we want to get for goals in the district. And then just some other things, projectors in the middle of the high school, the equipment's aging out. Same with the elementary smart boards. We're going on 10 years on most of that equipment. So we're looking at ways that we've been replacing equipment as it fails, but we just need to get proactive about the rest of the fleet is just aging out, especially with newer devices coming in. We're getting new MacBooks in, new Apple TVs and other devices that we're connecting to these things. We can't try to connect it to older hardware where we're having to buy adapters and it's costing us more money than we're just trying to come up with ways to do it that don't break the budget. Jay's been great about trying to help you find money and, we're trying to squeeze every drop out of the lemon. So we'll keep you posted on what we come up with on that. And then just kind of a timeline, this was actually a slide that we used in the spring presentation. I just wanted to kind of give you the visual, finish the max. We need new iPads 6 through 12. That's coming up. And I just want to put that on your radar. So when we're talking about it again, you'll remember that I said this in October. Network upgrades and the new internet line, we checked that box. Just talked about the smart boards and the projectors. And then just going forward into the near future, some of these buildings, the wiring, especially this one, we're going on 30 years on the wiring. We're running into problems. We're doing a lot of repairs. We need to look at kind of the whole thing on that. And we've run into a couple of problems, specifically in this building with the fiber optic cable was put in 1997. It's not compatible with transceivers being manufactured in 2024. So we're going to have to address some of that stuff in the short term. So we're working on that. We're getting there. I'll have some info for you if you want to talk about it. Yeah, so on the learning innovation side, one thing that my big focus at the beginning in the fall and the summer was to get this access to people for data that they need and also for the EdTech apps. We're rolling out that cybersecurity awareness PD. One of the district plans is to have a kind of like a roadmap for deeper learning. So what are the experiences that we have from K all the way to 12 of deeper learning experiences? I know downstairs you can see the roadmap for the high school, but how can we make some kind of digital version to see that path for all students all the way across? Moving forward, another big thing this year is to kind of revitalize those innovation spaces. One of them is the IAC at the middle school. I've been thinking a lot about how we can get some support, how we can get that to be a space that can be used by staff and students a little more consistently. The aligning career pathways with K-8. I've been working with the tech teachers at the last two PDs mainly because I want to make sure that we have these great innovation pathways at the high school, but we want to make sure that we have kids that are not only ready to succeed in those, but also that they know about them. So how can we have experiences that will lead them up so they don't find out about these pathways in 9th grade, but they find out about them throughout their whole time in K-8. And as I said before, like AI for deeper learning is the thing that I've been working on and passionate about. And then we've also been thinking about how we can get this database of community partners. So we have a lot of people that we work with throughout all the grades and all the different programs. If we had a database for that to identify which people would want to come in and what they're willing to do. Are you willing to come in and work as a person offering internships? Maybe you just want to come and hang out and see problem-based learning presentations or be a part of a kickoff to a unit on one of the project lead the way, like having a database so teachers can take advantage of that. And then what I say there? Oh yeah, and then like a guide for like deeper learning. Like we have this framework that's come out for deeper learning. How can we continue to build this practical guide for instruction so that when we are asking teachers to do more deeper learning in the classroom, what is that going to look like, and how can we support people with instructional practices for that?
We talked about building wiring on there. So it's just essentially replacing Cat 5, Cat 6 that's run.
That's gonna be the bigger project. Yeah, we did it at MISCO about 8 years ago, because the building was just in tough shape and we were doing a telephone upgrade at the same time, kind of an emergency scenario. And one of the problems we found was that just none of the wiring, it was just a mishmash, but
With a really strong 10G network, do you even bother?
in ARSA, cost-wise, just the number of devices we have in here. Doing wireless, it's just now it's competing with our education devices as well. Honestly, it still needs runs for all the access points. If I gotta add more, still have phones, still have, cameras. We have other devices that are just hardwired because they need to have power delivered to them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, it's becoming a new electrical cable for us. Things that we used to plug into the wall and run with like a thick piece of coax doesn't come through here anymore. Now we're using data wire for it. So I kind of see we're trading, we're not really replacing.
Yeah.
A lot of things like these have moved on to wireless, but that camera's running on a piece of Cat 6.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of things we're running into that. And I see us using them more and more in the classrooms. And I'm finding, like, even in this building, we're plugging stuff into ports. Sam and I found some stuff downstairs the other day where I was like, I don't think I've been plugged into this in 10 years, but now I'm plugging stuff into it again.
Yeah.
So, and as things change with classes, we move things around. So it's just easier. It makes us more versatile, more, mobile if we need to be.
The second question I had, the IIC, I'm sure what that stands for, but it's that room downstairs.
Yeah.
There's the old home ec room from 1988.
Oh, was it?
60 something, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool space. There's some cool stuff done a couple years ago down there. I'd love to keep seeing that brought back and some of that. But one of the things I've always thought is missing is there's not one of those here. And, there's a lot of clubs and stuff that starts to get going where, there is no 3D printing capability, or very limited and that kind of stuff. I would love to see a proposal brought forward to create a makerspace or something in this building that, we talk about the engineering programs, we talk about STEM, we talk about all that, but I think that's lacking in this building. Love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have something that has already been proposed for the media center downstairs that would
We
involve.
put in for a capital skills grant that would cover a lot of that.
Yeah.
And, cross our fingers that we'll get the funding through that grant. We're still waiting. We've been waiting a while for it. So we did put in for that absolute purpose. And I don't want to interrupt you, Ryan, but also like Jim Gorman, through all the many grants that he's getting, we've been building out a lot of the similar type of tools that you might see over in the IIC in his space, in the engineering space.
Yeah.
But we agree, like, we want to be able to have it be a pipeline from there into the new redesigned space at the media center.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, I only mentioned this one because we actually have it already. So, making use of what we have, and there is a lot of cool stuff. We just have to make use and organize and plan it
I'll
out.
just throw it out there because I know there was a gap in between, but
Yeah.
Dave Quinn used to run these night programs where parents and kids would come in and there'd be a goal and a workshop and then really great. I mean, I don't know if you can pull up those old notes or not, but they were really slick classes. They were well attended and it brought parents and kids together to the school to really utilize that space. I'd love to see that back.
Oh, so just an example of some of the things we've been thinking about for, using AI in the district. So this is a little portrait of learner guide I built with something called School AI. So if you are interested, that's a link to it, and you can also scan there. But this is a AI chatbot that you can talk about and learn about what the portrait of learner is and how it may apply to whether you're a teacher, what you can do in the classroom, or also if you're a student, for instance, like, what does it mean for a fourth grader to be a skillful collaborator? And it will respond with information on what those skills can be, how they can help them for interest in careers, you know, which kinds of skills they might want to attend to. So if you are interested, there's a code there. If you want to look at it.
You want us to try it?
I mean, if you have time and want to try it now, I would not say no, but I don't want.
I did try it yesterday in my 7-hour drive back, while I wasn't driving, and it's really cool.
It's just another way to think about deeper learning. Like one of the features is agency. So like giving more agency to students to make decisions and to determine like what does the portrait learner look like for them, and how can they apply that to things that they're already interested in without us having to dictate and tell them what projects to be working on.
Thank you. Thanks for the questions, comments, if there's any more.
Questions? Jumping in along the way.
So, regarding the index of the tech applications that were deployed in the district, is that? As someone who's coming in from the outside with experience in different districts, is there stuff in there that either you think doesn't work as well as other stuff that you get experience with? Is there stuff in there that, just from a cost perspective, I think there could be trade-offs made, save money by changing to a different service?
Yeah, I think there probably are, but we're just starting off the year now. Like the first step is kind of just to an assessment of like what we have. Literally, like no joke, every day I find about something new that we're using in the district that, isn't on our list that we had for an audit last year, or, we don't have admin permission to help people get on there. So I think the first step is just to figure out like, what do we have? And then how does that align to what our curriculum goals are? I'm sure there could be some cost savings. There could be some tools that we have on there, and we just have to find better ways and maybe better PD to get people to use them to their best ability.
I can add though, I mean, when things are like, hey, Maureen, did you know we use this, and did you know only this many use it, and this is how much it costs? And sometimes I know, like, oh yeah, I'm aware, we've been looking at that, and other times, oh, let's find out more about that. So it's been great having another set of new eyes, coming in a different perspective for that very point, and trying to get closer to the data. And then Ryan's been, meeting with all the different vendors of the larger tools that we're using to kind of get more feedback from them as well, which has been nice. Yeah.
I'll throw this out there. So I think, I'm sure you're aware of it, but there was that audit or that I would call library or cataloging that was done in conjunction with another school last year.
Yeah, it started a couple of years ago with Dave, and then we continued and added to it last year.
That was pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
and that's probably
And
more
what he's discovering is there's even more
There's even
that's
more.
being used
Yeah.
individually that hasn't been captured as we go to help, right?
So I'll throw this out there,
Yeah.
and I did ask last year, but I'll ask again this year. So maybe we can get this on a future agenda, but I would love to see a matrix that was almost like start at the elementary school, right? And so you go with your grade, K through 4, whatever, and then kind of work your way down math, science, whatever the major subjects are. Like what apps do we use to support each of those classes? But then what I'd really like to see down on a breakdown is, okay, so these are the 7 primary apps, but is this an annual license, is it a multi-year license? And what are we playing by seat? And this could be done on 3 dashboards. I don't think it has to be a lot to it, but it'd be great to be able to come around and say, okay, at an elementary school level, it's $37.50 a year to support the apps for that grade. And I think it would be an awesome
Yeah, we
thing for us
have,
to see.
we actually have that, and maybe not as pretty as you just described it,
Yeah.
but we can get it to be that way.
That'd
Like
be awesome.
we do, because I think we're at that point where
I think that, yeah. I
with
think
the
that's
last couple of years, the work that Cheryl did and Colleen before and Ryan out, like we have.
The quick and dirty would be
Yeah.
looking at the software line items on the tech budget. Jay very specifically puts out all of those different applications.
Yeah.
So you could see that, these take care of, it's broken in half by Clough Memorial, so these are only elementary apps.
But by student, like all of the adding it together,
Cost by school, because
yeah,
I mean, we all see the ads on TV, right?
yeah.
Rocket, whatever, that's gonna go and search how many subscriptions you have or whatever.
Yeah.
it blindsides all of us. My wife signs up for one, I sign up for one, one's bundled in something else, and it's like, it's hard to go back and do the inventory, but I think it would actually be eye-opening, and it's, even if we're hitting budget period and we're thinking about the budget presentation, that's a useful slide to say, listen, the world is different today. We're not buying thousands of dollars of textbooks, but we are spending $62 per student on apps, you know.
And that's one of the goals for the budget reasons, like to have a tool like that to show. Because we also want to make sure that we don't get into a situation where, you know, we make these decisions and then in August, we're turning things off and not letting staff know or not providing some support. If we are going to remove some of these tools, like how are we going to help them get over that? Because maybe it's not used very well, or maybe there's like 3 people that like really love it. And we want to make sure that they're still feeling supported, but like we just have to move them off because efficiently it's not worth for just a few people.
For the time for repairs, what do you guys do when it takes several days? Is there like a loaner that you can reimage for them or?
Yeah, it depends on the device. So student devices, we have student loaners. So the kids come in, they have something, we just swap and send them back to class. Depends on the severity of what's wrong too, like on an iPad, if it's something, you know, just software driven, Sam turns around in a day or so. If it's something more serious, like, you know, it got crushed, and, you know, we have to actually send it out. Apple's pretty good. They advance us a device. So, you know, if Sam gets it in today, it'll be here tomorrow. We get it swapped out, and then we do a pack the broken one and all the pieces into a cardboard box and FedEx is back to Apple. And with the last purchase we did, it's a 4-year Apple Care with 0 deductible. So it's really, that's been saving us a ton of money. The current the 6 through 12, those devices are coming off their Apple Care. So we're curious to see what kind of breakage we're going to get on that and how it's going to affect our bottom line. Definitely on their next lease, you know, we should definitely make, you know, 4-year lease, 4-year Apple Care, keep all those prices nice and solid for everybody. So we're not coming back with like a, you know, $30,000 repair bill or something that is just out of whack. The staff device is similar. We ship those out. So we have in each of the buildings a cart of like, you know, 4 or 5 devices that we can pull from and just hand off so the teacher can go back to work. And then those turnarounds usually 3 days to 4, depending on, because it ships out, it's overnight, they get it the next day. If they get right on it, I had them back as fast as 3 days. But usually I tell everybody a week just to make it realistic.
And for the chat, I see that uses School AI. Is that like a provider? Sure.
Yes, they're an online vendor for artificial intelligence tool. It's one of the few that actually uses AI and has signed the student data privacy agreement. So using that with students, it's actually okay because they actually have agreed to be transparent about what they do. There's not many of those tools. ChatGPT is not one of those that do that.
Yeah.
You know, even Gemini doesn't do that.
Yeah, do you know what AI provider they're using?
It's still open AI at the bottom. Like most of them are still open at the bottom. It's just a matter of where the data goes.
Any questions? Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Dr. Cullen?
No, for updates, that is that.
All right, on to new business.
Mr. Russick isn't here. I did share his field trip request form, but I may recommend seeing if I can have him, see if he can come to a future meeting. But it's up to you. You do have all the info, but I imagined you would want to, for an out of country field trip, you might have questions to ask. Right.
You
so we
guys
can-
want to do a quick discussion? I've read through it, looked at all.
It's up to you guys. We can
I'm
push it a
excited
little
that it's
bit.
during the summer.
Yeah.
My biggest pet
I
peeve
knew
is
that
gonna
was
be
one
this year
question.
is gonna be, how many days are we taking teachers away from all the other kids? So if you can go on a trip. So, if people haven't had a chance to read it, why don't we just defer it? If people want to take a vote on it, we can do that as well. Thoughts? Table it? That works for me. All right. I'll look at it, and then if he can make it next time, if not, we can at least review the information in the background.
Thank you. Is that a motion to table it? Take a second.
Sure.
Make it all official.
That sounds good.
Heard Matt make motions, we'll second it.
Oh, okay. All,
That's what I heard, that's what I
Yes.
said.
all right. Matt made a motion, Carrie seconded, all in favor of pushing this off to the next meeting?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Sorry, guys. Thanks for keeping me honest.
Okay, so next up, I have my proposed goals, and I shared with you the large document that has all of the full details of the goals in my slides. I'm just gonna quickly go over the highlights and then just answer any questions that you might have. All right. We have those. Just get ready to rock and roll. Great, thank you. If you just, go to the next slide, perfect. Similar to previous years, I've had 4 main goals that I brought forward. We always have the professional practice goal. We have a student learning goal, and this aligns with essentially what we do with administrators as well, the principals. So professional practice, student learning, and then I take 2 of the 4 district improvement goals and focus in just for some that might be an area where I'm doing more specific work or really engaged in some of the work. Of course, I'm definitely involved in having conversations with all of the district improvement goals, but there are a couple areas that I'm more intimately involved with. So the first one for professional practice goal, I'm going to be focused on policies, protocols, and procedures. A lot of fun stuff. It's come up at our policy subcommittee meetings where, and I'll speak to that in a moment, but felt like that's an area I've been spending a lot of time on. Student learning goals, going to be focused on deeper learning, some of the work that was just shared by Ryan. And the district improvement goal, I'm going to focus on priority 3 around developing culturally inclusive learning environments and work around that. And finally, we maintain a lot of work on improving budget, facility communications, and planning. In the past couple of years, I've had a big communication goal for my professional practice goal, and I decided to switch it to a different area this year, but I'll still be working on communications underneath that one. So I'm going to go through all 4. Thank you. So if you go to the professional practice one, is there any way to make that bigger? On the screen, just so they can see it. I'm assuming you can't see it. I don't know. I can't.
We've all got it
I
pulled
know
up
you
right
will
here.
have it, but
Yep.
just if you can't, that's fine. But goal number 1, in order to ensure that we're meeting federal and state regulations, which is something that we're always doing. I just wanted to start with that. But what I'm trying to do this year is to spend some additional time doing research, attending other trainings, and learning more about some areas that maybe are new. So one example to bring up would be Title IX. Now, the Title IX coordinator, Cheryl, sitting back here, and she knows every in and out of that because she needed to get trained in that. But that would be an area where alongside her, I'd also be focusing on some of the trainings in order to support her. And then we've already had some things that we've been starting to bring forward for our policy review and updates. But if there were things that came up and after I go through additional training, she needed another support, I'd be another person as well that would be familiar with that. Other areas we talked about would be FERPA, 504s, IPs. I've been working with Lori Petty on employee laws that come up. I always attend the ballot initiative, like updates that they have. We often have ballot initiatives that come up every few years, and there's specific rules around that. Bullying, harassment, social media. I know we talked about that, the policy subcommittee, taking review of some of those policies. So one of my actions is really just to identify the list of areas that we're going to, try to update in our policy review for the subcommittee. We've been focused on the B policies, but what we're going to do is not that we're going to fully take a pause from B, but I'm going to make this a priority to ensure that we're up to date on our policies, to help the school committee with that.
I've talked a lot about cybersecurity, best practices. Ryan just was talking about that, but from the beginning, I think it was one of the first things I said to him after he was hired is that this is an area for growth for us, and we need a response plan. And so we both have been attending many trainings related to that, and that's one of our action steps in the strategic priorities as well. And then in my work too, there are many rules around document retention. And what I'm going to do is go through all of the laws related to document retention and do a review and almost like a little checklist. So what we had this year is we had new staff coming on board in like the district office, and we didn't necessarily have like a checklist of this is, how you keep track of some documents. So I want to be able to create. So we've been working on creating written internal procedures that we haven't had in the past before. So it may not be super exciting unless you're really into legal work, maybe it is, but some of the outcomes we'll have are, updated policies and protocols, which is always ongoing, but a focus on that. We've also been trying to put together, we don't necessarily have like a district binder, that has all of the protocols that exist. What I'm doing is creating almost like a dashboard. So anytime we go through legal training, last year we went through all the student discipline, there were changes in laws, we went through trainings, we had new updated documents. I'm creating a dashboard for administrators, which is helpful if we ever have a new administrator coming aboard. We kind of have this database of the resources in a really easy to find manner. Anything that seems like I identified that might be important for the community to know about and updates. I mean, we have our policies, but if there's anything additional, then I'll do website updates on that. And I already talked about the checklist. And there are more outcomes that I listed in there, but I just kind of pulled out a few. So I don't know if you have any questions on this.
Good housekeeping.
Yeah, I mean, we've been chipping away, but now after a few years, and I just really want to make sure that we're trying to capture as much. And there's always, we go through compliance reviews. So anytime we do, that's one reason why they do it with districts, right? We want to make sure that you're all up to date with any regulations that have changed. And then that makes us look at everything and we update it. And so we go through that and we try to get ahead of it, but I'd like to kind of do a general look as well, especially to help us in the policy, updating process. All right, on to the next one then. I don't actually know if there's anything new that I'm going to talk about here under student learning, because we have talked about it around the priorities, and even Ryan was just talking about it. I didn't plant him there, but thank you for that. But we talked, my goal last year around student learning was around deeper learning as well. What we're doing is kind of taking it to the next level. We have this framework, this deeper learning framework, which you haven't fully seen yet, but we have a full draft of it. We've been working on it since the summer. And now the work that you're going to hear about is us using this framework and developing look-fors, protocols for observations, and also working with instructional partners as well as the leadership team around creating these leveling up protocols. I mentioned this when I talked about the strategic priorities, that we had the authenticity one. Now the elementary's created an agency one. I have a team working with the ally group right now, and they at the middle school so each school's developing one, and then we're going to try it out. So in my leadership team meetings is where we're taking a look at it, but we're also rolling it out at the schools and in order to improve our instructional practice. I know in the past we've heard about inspired learning days, and that's a great focus area, but we're looking to expand deeper learning across multiple days and all across the district, and that's our goal. Other areas that, Ryan talked about the AI support for deeper learning, which will be really helpful in order to get us talking about this. And I'm seeing if there's anything else. And we also redesign of spaces, and I'm glad you asked that question, before. We're trying to focus on the media center at the school, the IIC, and then the media center here, and any other spaces that might come up, like, okay, what can we do differently? And try to get grant funding in order to support that. So I 100% agree with you. I don't know if anyone has questions on anything related to this. I know we talked about it, but it is really a huge focus of our work in our meetings.
All right, goal number 3 for district improvement falls under our priority 3 as well. And really focusing on developing culturally inclusive learning environments. The goal is to further our vision for creating welcoming, inclusive, and equitable community for our students. I think I already talked about some of the beginning work that we led. I modeled the What's in a Name activity. We're finishing up and hopefully going to get that done by December, where all of our students would be able to share their name. We have it recorded, and then we'll be able to have access to that for our educators. We are working on analyzing student data. You know, of course, we get the MCAS data, we look at subgroups, and we have other data that's coming in that will come in through climate, our equity, diversity, inclusion survey, and any of the SEL surveys through Panorama that we'll have. And so we'll look at subgroup data with that and overall data. And part of that is going to inform like future decision making. We also are taking the equity pause protocol that we kind of rolled out, piloted a few times last year, and starting to embed it into our practice. So if we're looking at data, it's like, you know, we take out the protocol and we're pausing to say, how does this impact, you know, how do we look at the lens to equity? Any decision that we make, we're going to pause and we're going to think about that, which sometimes we kind of naturally do, but sometimes we're going so fast, we don't always do that, right? And that we want that to be something that's not just done at the leadership level, but it's something that is done across, you know, all decision making. We're reviewing our school activities for inclusivity, and we're also putting out visual indicators of diversity in the community. So you'll see, I talked about like the welcome sign that we're trying to get up there. We're working like on a flag project. There's a map project at one of the elementary schools, and we're really looking at our spaces and seeing how we can make sure that it's more inclusive. So some of the outcomes are kind of similar to the actions, like they're going to lead to the outcomes. Hopefully, you know, you'll see me using staff communications for sharing best practices through like my weekly memo that I send to them, the use of the equity pause protocol, and then any of the visual indicators will be pretty clear. And obviously we'll come forward at some point with some of the data analysis here. We're always welcome to share any of it with you once we go forward too. Any questions related to this?
I think related to being inclusive and equity, there was a big blow about the Halloween parade. So I think reading through all of that, I think just being more communicative proactively might prevent some of that blow up on social media.
Yeah, we not that I didn't expect it to blow up on social media, like any change, sometimes that this could happen. We always had planned, like if we could go back, we would have sent out our messages that they planned on sending out today, a week ago.
Yeah.
But we were still in like what was happening last week. You know what I mean? Like we were like talking about last week, and then this was coming up in the week. So we'd always planned on sending out the communications from the principals from the elementary level today, which they sent out, and wanted to be intentional in communicating the purpose, because it is a change that we were shifting from having the Halloween parade right at the end of the day and shifting to having a more inclusive activity that with the cardboard creation day. So they've been talking about that, but we hadn't really gotten a lot of questions. And so I guess in retrospect, I wish we had sent that out, you know, a week ago. I haven't received myself any communications directly on it. And I know I was able to talk to Club today, and they had like 3 or 4 questions or emails, like kind of asking for clarification. So hopefully after this, you know, coming out, I would just recommend that if people have questions about what's happening at the schools too, that they go directly to the schools, ask a question, we will be able to clarify, or we're able to know that, you know, what's going on in the community if we're not, you know, hearing about it. I don't know if you have any questions related to that. I'm more than happy to answer them, but I'm glad you brought it up. And this has been part of our strategic priorities to kind of look at all of our events. So it's been in our priorities and is part of like the goals and some of our conversations. So we've been talking about some of it for a while.
I read all the reasoning, loved it. My wife's excited for the part where she's gonna volunteer.
Yeah,
Stuff for the kids.
we
So.
had it at Clough last year and decided that this would be a good activity that would engage because it went over so well. It's a national type of activity that Liz Garden had known about, and we brought it in and we know that it's going to be amazing because we saw what happened last year. We actually happen to have, when I do my leadership meetings at each of the schools, I alternate like every other, and we happen to be there. We scheduled it so we could go in and we were all part of the group. Do you remember, Jay? Jay was in the boxes, like building stuff, but no, it was good because we had the whole like leadership team, you know, in there.
First nature's class or the cardboard?
Starting down the cardboard boat races, so. I mean,
There we go.
And some of the other things related to the decision-making, we've seen an increase in absenteeism in the last number of years as our populations become more diverse. And so there are actually some cultures, religions that don't celebrate Halloween, and they're actually not coming to school. And so in efforts to be more inclusive and making sure we have activities that aren't excluding, that was one aspect. And then we also got some feedback from some parents, more at Clifton Memorial, like in one of the, because they always do parent surveys, that it was a hardship, you know, for some of the families to have so many things like midday. And also the teacher feedback was that it can be really disruptive. Apparently, it could take like an hour to help a kindergartner get in and out of a costume. And so that like there are some of these things that also came into play in some of my conversations. And so what they've been trying to do is create different fun activities like the cardboard, but also like there's the Spirit Week that I talked about. And we also had talked about as a leadership team around this, we wanted to make sure that there were other external Halloween events that were taking place and that we were fully supporting and communicating that. So those that chose to do that were be able to do that, but after school. So that I know it is a change, and with that comes loss and strong feelings, and totally recognize that and wish we could have gotten information out sooner. I can't fix that now, but you know, hopefully people will see how fun the new event will be. Anything else related to the school? All right, last one. We talked about this a little bit because it essentially kind of took a lot of the steps that I'll be working on, particularly with Jay, on the budget and facility communication planning. And we're going to continue to collaborate with MUCP on the town and field needs. We've already done that. We have the capital planning that got shifted, if anyone's watching, from the 23rd to the 28th is when our next meeting will be. And we know that developing consensus on our capital priorities is one of the first things that we need to do in this fall in order to move forward on some of it. We also hired a consultant to do a 5-year projection for us around the budget, and he'll be presenting that 5-year projection in December. Can't remember, we did the first or second meeting in December, but one of the 2 meetings in December. Also, and we're asking from budget subcommittee, but also welcome any feedback from everyone else in the school committee around the budget presentation formats. I mean, we've had a standard format that we go forward, like with the each department, try to keep it the same so we can kind of look at it year to year. But if there's something in particular you're looking for in those formats, please get that to me as soon as possible, and I can pass that along to them before they start in December. But also, I'm looking for ways that we can share budget information very simply. I guess that's the best way I can say it. You know, I'm more of a visual person. And so like if I see a good infographic that shows something, the numbers, then it makes a lot of sense to me. I know some of you are numbers people out here, so that's good. We can show other ways, but you know, I'm trying to think of like what's a new way that we can present the same information where it can be received by the community and understood. We certainly have increased the amount of information we're putting out, but we're just looking for new ideas. I know the budget subcommittee has talked to us about, you know, looking at different cost centers. I think your idea is a really good one too, of like per student, you know, the cost by school, so people can understand, because things have changed pre-COVID to post-COVID of devices and, you know, costs, et cetera. But as we work on this, please, you know, forward any ideas. Do you have any questions on this? Nice. And those are the 4 goals.
Great. Thank you. Good update. We need to do a vote to accept the goals. All right.
move to approve superintendent's goals for the 2024-2025 school year.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're good.
Okay.
All right, sure. Approval of prior year bill.
Yep.
We like
Oh. Is that bill that's like 3 years old? and
Yeah.
Yes.
Chasing us down from?
Yes, so, yeah, we got a bill, they sent it to us probably about a month ago, and I've just kind of been ignoring it for a while. They apparently delivered oil in December of 2022, but just forgot to bill us. And quite honestly, I don't chase vendors when they don't bill us. So they tracked us down, we did get an oil delivery, so I do think it's a legitimate bill. So the question is, do we pay it? I initially tried to negotiate with them, like, we'll pay 50%, you know, that kind of thing. They basically came back and said, no, we'd like 100%. So I'm just coming to you for approval, because we are gonna have to pay it out of FY 25's budget. I can't go back to FY 23, pay it out of there. So it's gonna
Until
put,
FY 26.
What's that?
I mean, that's what they're agree for. Can we wait till FY 26?
I could ask him that, but that means we're gonna have to put it in next year's budget. I think we probably can absorb it better this year. We did negotiate a lower price for oil. So hopefully we'll have some savings in that account, but more than likely this is gonna push the oil, heating oil account over.
Is there, Jay, if you're comfortable, that's good, but is there any? I mean, typically when you buy oil, right, you get a copy of the receipt that showed what the tank was when, or excuse me, what their tanker was.
Yeah.
And so you've got pretty hard copy. Were they able to provide that to you?
Yes, but that they didn't provide it to us in December of 2022.
Right.
They provided it to us now.
No.
Yeah, no, we looked at all of our bills and all of our deliveries, and it fell in line with when we would have had oil.
Yeah.
Ken generally orders 5,000 gallons at a delivery. Sometimes it's about every 2 to 3 weeks in the winter, because we burn quite a bit of oil.
So that's about $3 a gallon.
Well, yeah, so the initial bill was much higher, and we had a contracted price, I think, of $329. This bill was like $360, so I'm gonna force them back to the $329. That was our contracted price.
Yeah.
So it may not be quite 17,000. It probably will save us, $1,200–1,500, but I haven't gotten that far. I basically, when I told them the other day, last week, I was kind of, I don't think school committee's gonna approve this, so I think we pay it. And they kind of came back and said, well, we have methods of getting it. So I do think if we don't pay it, they're gonna send it to collections. And quite honestly, it's gonna be easier to just pay it at this point. It just irritates me, to be honest with you.
Questions, discussion?
It's annoying.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Part of me wants to just make Jay's life nice and easy and pay it, and the other part of me says, there is a very valuable business lesson to be taught here.
Well, this is a pretty big company. So we buy our oil through a collaborative called the Norfolk County Collaborative. They have that state contract. It's now, that contract is under the control of the Navy. So that's where our oil is coming from now, but this is who we've been using for probably the last 10 years. And they've been great as far as everything goes. I think they're building a little bit to be desired.
I think my recommendation today is continue shaking down, for the rate, a discount or something, or whatever, but it is what it is. Probably.
Yeah.
Sometimes bills come in early, they come in late, you get to sometimes work that a little bit at the end of the year, and this just stinks, but probably is what it is.
It's irritating. That's
Irritating, yeah.
That's where my head is at. It just irritates.
Yeah.
We don't want them to send anybody to break Chase kneecaps
Yeah.
either.
I'm gonna be in a cardboard box at nature's class. And they'll never find
They'll
it.
never find it.
Just build a castle, moat around it.
All right, anyone want to make a motion or one way or the other?
I'll move to approve the payment of fiscal years.
Second.
Any further conversation, discussion? To vote, all in favor?
Jay, bye.
Thanks. All right, I'll let you guys know how it turns out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All righty, on to the subcommittees. Budget subcommittee, we met This was 2 weeks ago already. Jim, just a quick update.
Yes, we had a budget subcommittee meeting. It was mostly going over the purpose of the subcommittee along with where the revenue sources come from and an update on projections. Some of the negotiations came from last year. The next subcommittee meeting, do I have it? I don't know.
I think I've got,
It's in December.
Yeah, it's ways off, but we have capital planning coming up for that. So.
yeah, it's December 11th. For initial requests and needs.
That's all.
Okay,
Cool.
all right. Vicky, do you have policy?
I do have a policy, so did meet on September 23rd, but it was a meeting 2 weeks ago, which I was not at.
I think we did a first reading of,
Yeah, we had a first reading and then didn't meet, and I may be losing track of dates, but I don't think we met before the last meeting, but we have to go bring it to a second reading. We brought it to the first, but not the second.
Okay. So then this is second reading of policy ACA non-discrimination on the basis of sex, which is an update based on the new Title IX regulations.
everyone's had a chance to read it. Somebody want to give us a motion?
I'll move to update, to approve the updated policy ACA non-discrimination basis.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see, superintendent evaluation subcommittee. Sure who's got this one. Carrie?
Karen wasn't there last week, but she was approved as the chair. I'll speak to it.
Excellent. I so appreciate that.
Basically, we reviewed Dr. Cohen's goals that she presented to us today. That's feedback. She incorporated document that she presented to us today. We set the schedule for the rest of the year.
Is it a mid-year check-in and end-year check-in?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, mid-year and end of year.
All right, I'll take capital planning. We haven't had our first meeting yet. We're meeting a week from today, on 28th. We can provide an update at the next week. There's no matters that have come to me that weren't on the original agenda. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe there is one.
There is a community member online, because their hand raised. They raise their hands, a couple of presentations. So I just wanted to throw that out there. See what's going on.
Okay. Why don't we do this? I'm gonna kind of restate that we'll take the question tonight, but I think in the future, I'm gonna pass on that we do have time for community comments at the beginning. So I know we mixed up the agenda a little bit tonight to accommodate our volleyball team, so we'll have this as a comment. But this is not a conversation, so we'll give somebody up to 3 minutes to speak.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will allow them to talk. So, yeah. So Ms. Freeman, you are all set to talk.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I'm Dr. Allison Freeman, and I just wanted questions or comments on the post about cybersecurity, because my children were personally affected by this multiple times in this district. And at the beginning of the year, I can't remember what school committee meeting that was, Dr. Cohen had stated that they were addressing this, these cybersecurity issues through professional development and things like that. And I did not see anything in what was presented tonight that is directly addressing those issues. So I'm looking for, what is going to change, because it's a district-wide issue. It's been ongoing since August of 2021. And there's been nothing that has been done to change it. I actually got that same email phishing training today, and it's not about this issue. I'm sure it's great, but it's not about this issue. So I was really here tonight looking for like, oh, great, we're going to, see how the district is going to address these issues that they have. And that wasn't communicated. So I'm looking for that communication. School committee members, I also sent you an email, I think 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard a response from it. So I know everyone talks about, their goal is for improved communication. I think a Halloween parade is a great thing to communicate about, but really the safety and privacy of our students is a bigger issue, and that really needs to be communicated from all of you. That's it.
All right, thank you very much for your comments, and I'll ask Dr. Cohen to reply back separately, and we'll look at future agenda items. All right, so other agenda items we have lined up is the school improvement plan. We've done that one, we've got the others to follow. Student support services update, and then we've got an update on student data analysis. So if there's nothing else, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn. Okay. Relax.